Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Deep Dive. I'm your host, Amelia, and today we're breaking down the explosive sixth episode of CBS's hit drama, Beyond the Gates. If you've been following our recaps, you know things have been heating up in Oakwood Estates, and this episode titled Shattered Alliances absolutely delivers on its promise. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our weekly breakdowns of this incredible show. As always, this is your official spoiler warning. We'll be covering everything that happened in episode 6, so if you haven't watched it yet, now is your chance to pause and come back later. For everyone else, let's dive into the drama that's threatening to tear Oakwood Estates apart. After 5 episodes of simmering tensions and calculated moves, Episode 6 represents a major turning point for nearly every character in the series. The carefully maintained alliances that have defined Oakwood Estates begin to fracture as secrets are exposed and loyalties are tested. The episode centers around the community's prestigious Founders Day celebration, an annual event honoring the original families who established Oakwood Estates. While on the surface it's a day of unity and tradition, this year's celebration becomes the perfect backdrop for explosive confrontations and shocking revelations that will reshape the community's power dynamics going forward. From Vernon's increasingly desperate attempts to protect his legacy to Dani's moral crisis reaching a breaking point, this episode masterfully pays off storylines that have been building since the premiere while setting up even more dramatic conflicts for the second half of the season. The episode opens with Anita Dupree in her element, overseeing final preparations for the Founders Day celebration with her characteristic blend of charm and authority. The cinematography in these opening scenes beautifully contrasts the sunny, picture-perfect community gathering with ominous visual cues suggesting the storm brewing beneath the surface. Director uses a series of revealing tracking shots that follow Anita through the celebration, briefly pausing on key characters engaged in tense conversations. Ted Richardson looking uncomfortable as he speaks with an unfamiliar man in a business suit. Leslie Thomas discreetly photographing documents on Bill Hamilton's desk. Martin and Smitty arguing in hushed tones near the refreshment table. The celebration itself is visually stunning, a testament to the production design team's attention to detail. The historical displays showcasing Oakwood Estate's founding families are particularly significant, as the camera lingers on photographs of younger versions of Vernon and Bill standing together as friends, a stark contrast to their current animosity. Vernon's ceremonial speech about preserving our legacy takes on multiple layers of meaning, given what we now know about how Oakwood Estates was established. The writers brilliantly use this public moment to highlight the show's central theme of appearances versus reality. After 5 episodes of veiled threats and power moves, the conflict between these former friends finally explodes into the open. Bill uses the celebration to publicly announce a major development project that directly threatens Vernon's business interests. Their confrontation in Vernon's study reveals new layers to their decades-long feud, with Bill finally explicitly mentioning what you did to Marcus, confirming our suspicions that something tragic happened in their shared past. The flashback sequence showing younger Vernon making a morally questionable decision that benefited both men, but apparently led to someone's downfall, adds fascinating complexity to both characters. Vernon's line, "We both have blood on our hands," suggests Bill isn't as innocent as he portrays himself. Nicole's storyline takes a dramatic turn when she discovers evidence that Ted has been secretly meeting with Bill Hamilton, suggesting her husband may be betraying not just her, but the entire Dupree family. The scene where she confronts Ted is masterfully acted, with layers of hurt, suspicion, and rage, as Nicole realizes the man she married may have been playing a long game against her family. Ted's explanation that he's been trying to broker peace between the families rings hollow, especially when Nicole finds financial documents suggesting he's been receiving payments from Hamilton Enterprises. The episode leaves us wondering, is Ted a traitor, or is there something more complex happening? After discovering her father's questionable past dealings in previous episodes, Dani finally reaches her breaking point. Her conversation with Eva Thomas reveals she's been gathering evidence about the original land acquisition for Oakwood Estates, suggesting multiple founding families used questionable means to displace the original residents. The scene where Dani confronts her mother about her knowledge of these historical injustices is perhaps the emotional centerpiece of the episode. Anita's response, sometimes preserving what matters requires difficult choices, reveals new dimensions to her character while setting up Dani's potentially devastating decision about whether to expose the community's secrets. The tensions in Martin and Smitty's marriage finally explode when Smitty discovers Martin has been secretly meeting with someone from his past. Their argument at the celebration forces them to confront not just their communication issues, but deeper questions about belonging and authenticity in Oakwood Estates. The revelation that Martin was previously married to a woman and has a child he never told Smitty about creates a compelling new dimension to their storyline, raising questions about identity and honesty in relationships. While the major conflicts dominate the episode, several secondary storylines advance in ways that will clearly impact future episodes. The Hamilton sisters continue their different approaches to family loyalty. Chelsea's increasingly ruthless business tactics show she's becoming more like her father, while Naomi's growing friendship with Dani Dupree suggests she may eventually side against her own family's interests. The scene where Chelsea discovers Naomi and Dani discussing the community's questionable history sets up a potential sister versus sister conflict that mirrors the older generation's feuds. Leslie Thomas's motivations become slightly clearer as we see her collecting information on multiple families. Her conversation with an unseen person on the phone suggests she may be working with someone outside Oakwood Estates who has their own reasons for wanting to expose the community's secrets. The brief flashback showing a younger Leslie being humiliated by Anita at a community event years ago adds personal motivation to what previously seemed like pure ambition. Ava Thomas continues to be caught between her sister Leslie's scheming and her own moral compass. Her decision to warn Dani about Leslie's interest in the Dupree family documents suggests she may become a crucial ally or obstacle in the brewing conflict. 1. Anita and Leslie's public showdown. What begins as typical passive-aggressive banter at the celebration escalates when Leslie publicly alludes to founding families with foundations built on quicksand. Anita's response, maintaining her composure while subtly threatening Leslie's standing in the community, showcases why she's such a formidable figure in Oakwood Estates. 2. Vernon and Bill's physical altercation. After decades of tension, these two powerful men finally come to blows in a shocking scene that forces their family members to intervene. The public nature of their fight shatters the illusion of harmony in Oakwood Estates, making their private war impossible to ignore. 3. Ted's ultimatum to Nicole. After being confronted about his secret meetings with Bill Hamilton, Ted finally reveals his true feelings about living in Vernon Dupree's shadow. His ultimatum that Nicole must choose between her husband and her father sets up a devastating choice that will likely drive much of the season's remaining drama. The episode's final act delivers the most shocking revelation of the series so far. As the celebration winds down, we follow Dani as she meets with a mysterious older woman who's been watching the proceedings from a distance. Their conversation reveals this woman is Margaret Lewis, a name we've heard mentioned in whispers throughout previous episodes. Margaret's claim that she is the rightful heir to much of the land Oakwood Estates was built on, and that Vernon and Bill conspired to cheat her family out of their inheritance decades ago, recontextualizes everything we thought we knew about the community's founding. The revelation that Margaret is actually Marcus's widow, confirming that the mysterious Marcus mentioned in previous episodes is indeed dead, adds a devastating emotional dimension to what previously seemed like a straightforward business rivalry between Vernon and Bill. The episode ends with Margaret telling Dani, "Your father and Bill Hamilton built their paradise on my family's graves," a line that perfectly encapsulates the show's exploration of how privilege and power often come at others' expense. Before diving into thematic analysis, it's worth highlighting the exceptional technical elements that made this episode stand out. The cinematography was particularly notable, using increasing visual instability as the episode progressed, starting with steady, composed shots. During the celebration's opening and gradually incorporating more handheld camera work and Dutch angles as tensions escalated. The musical score brilliantly contrasted the refined classical pieces of the celebration with underlying discordant elements that grew more pronounced during confrontations. The costume design deserves special mention, particularly Anita's stunning white ensemble that visually positioned her as the community's queen while providing stark visual contrast during her confrontation with Leslie, who wore deep red. 6 episodes in, Beyond the Gates has established itself as a nuanced exploration of several interconnected themes. The Founders Day celebration provides the perfect backdrop to examine how the characters relate to their family legacies. Vernon's desperate attempts to protect the Dupree legacy, even at moral cost, contrasts with Dani's willingness to question and potentially dismantle that same legacy in pursuit of justice. The episode explores how those in power control narratives about the past. The celebration's historical displays present a sanitized version of Oakwood Estate's founding, while Margaret Lewis represents the suppressed truth threatening to emerge. This dynamic raises profound questions about whose histories are preserved and whose are erased. Nearly every marriage in the show is revealed to have strategic dimensions beyond emotional connection. Nicole and Ted's union as a business alliance between families, Martin's concealment of his previous marriage, and even Vernon and Anita's partnership as a foundation of their power all explore how personal relationships intersect with social positioning. The conflict between parents who built and maintained Oakwood Estates and children who question its foundations continues to provide rich dramatic territory. Chelsea's embrace of her father's ruthless approach versus Naomi's growing skepticism, and the similar divide between Nicole and Dani Dupree suggests the younger generation will ultimately determine the community's future. This pivotal episode raises several intriguing questions for the remainder of the season. 1. Will Dani ally with Margaret Lewis to expose Oakwood Estates' questionable foundations, even at the cost of destroying her own family? 2. What exactly happened to Marcus Lewis, and how directly were Vernon and Bill involved in his death or downfall? 3. Is Ted genuinely betraying the Duprees, or could his connection to Bill Hamilton be more complicated than it appears? 4. How will the public confrontation between Vernon and Bill affect their businesses and standing in the community? 5. What is Leslie's ultimate agenda, and who is she working with outside Oakwood Estates? Based on the dramatic shifts in this episode, I predict we'll see unlikely alliances forming, perhaps between Dani and Naomi against both their families, or even between Anita and Bill if Vernon's actions become too extreme. The introduction of Margaret Lewis suggests we may see more figures from the past returning to challenge the community's carefully maintained narrative. Episode 6 of Beyond the Gates represents a major turning point that pays off storylines that have been building since the premiere, while setting up even more complex conflicts for the second half of the season. The revelation about Margaret Lewis and the community's founding recontextualizes everything we've seen so far, adding new depth to what was already a compelling drama. The performances continue to impress, particularly actress playing Anita and actor playing Vernon, whose portrayal of a powerful couple facing threats from all sides anchors the show's emotional core. The younger cast members are equally compelling, bringing nuance to characters who could easily have been one-dimensional in less skilled hands. What did you think about this episode's revelations? Were you surprised by Margaret Lewis's connection to Marcus? And whose side are you on in the growing conflict between the Duprees and seemingly everyone else? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like button and subscribe for weekly recaps of Beyond the Gates and all your other favorite shows. Until next week, when we'll see how these shattered alliances continue to reshape Oakwood Estates. Thanks for watching.